Hey, Elliot. Hey, Jahi.
No,
Good afternoon. I don't think I can hear you. Elliot, you're muted. Yep. Okay. So, guys.
I'm back. Okay, I'm hear
All
me
right.
out.
Great. All right. Here we go. Here we go. I don't. I feel like this is the second time I have to say this. Last week I was like, oh, I don't know that much about finance. Well, I don't know that much about brewing beer. Okay. But I saw on Base DC that you are one of five Black-owned breweries in the DC area. And so that really struck me because it's so condensed to have so many Black breweries. But then I started doing a little more research and I saw there is a sizable amount of breweries in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So for only five to be Black owned, it's actually not a lot. And I feel like that's probably indicative of the market in general. And you see Black ownership, with like liquors and spirits. But I feel like the beer market is something that hasn't really been penetrated by diversity. And so I would love to just kind of hear about how you all got involved in the process, some of those barriers to entry and like what it's really like to concept and then take something to market.
I'll let you kick it off, Elliot. You can talk that piece. I'll talk the beer side.
Okay, cool. Well, number one, thanks for having us. It's pretty cool. It's like my first time doing this broadcast. So yeah, that's a good question. I do think that there being five is indicative of the market, considering that DMV is really like three different regions or whatever. For us, we've been homebrewing for a while. Claudia, you know this, probably back to 2010 or 11. And so a lot of our stuff was, trial and error. I think the one thing that we kind of had on our side was to leverage some of our network locally to gain support fairly quickly. But we talk about barriers of entry. I think any small business, especially in an industry where it costs a lot to start up that business, is going to face financial barriers of entry. I know, like, we tried to kick a Kickstarter campaign off at first. It wasn't very successful, but we didn't quit. I would say that the regulation around alcohol and the cost of capital to start up is probably the two highest ones for people in the alcohol industry. It's not like shirts, right? You can't just like make a shirt and then start selling online. You got to get licensing, and you got to get a warehouse. You got to pay lease. You got to get insurance.
Wow.
You got to
build out cost. The cost it takes to actually have brew lines and all of that stuff set up is also expensive.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, just as a ballpark, if I wanted to start a beer company tomorrow, how much seed money would I need to really kind of try to like corral?
Do you want to have your own facility?
I think so.
Probably 2 million.
2 million. Wow. So is that the path that you all took, or are you going in someone else's facility?
Correct. Yeah, we're using a market entry strategy called contract brewing. Some people call it gypsy brewing as well. Basically, we own our recipe, and we partner with an existing brewery to make it on their facility.
Nice. Yeah.
And
so what is
we distribute our own product too.
You said what now?
We distribute our own product.
Okay. All right. And so with the beer, like, you own your recipe, what kind of went into that? How does one develop a recipe for beer, and how does one discern whether it's good or not?
Well, actually coming up with the beer, at least for me, you have to kind of have the ends in mind. So kind of want to have an idea of what it's going to taste like, what you want to bring to the consumer. And for Elliot and I, we want to do something different, right? So what we did was we did a hybrid type beer, one that has aspects of an American wheat, an American pale ale, and a bit of IPA in there. So you have a mix of American noble hop flavors, and it's just something unique. It's something we wanted to do as a start. IPAs are very popular. We didn't want to enter in that frame. We wanted to do something different. So that's how we came up with the Worldwide. And overall, I think it's pretty well accepted. We've got a lot of good feedback. Again, like Elliot said, a lot of trial and error, but we got this recipe spot on based on the feedback we've been getting. We like to drink beer, and we like it too. So hey,
right. Yeah, I was going to say, like, being expert connoisseurs in that realm, we have very distinctive flavor palettes. I also want to reiterate that, like, this isn't some type of like fly by night thing. So our commercial product available in the market right now is Worldwide, the one Jahi alluded to. It's our American Pale Ale, but we've been making iterations of that recipe for years, probably 7, maybe 6 or 7 years. And like every time we made a batch, we tested it in a small scale. Like Claudia, I know you've helped us out with some of our events in the past. So just kind of doing it like that design thinking build where you start small and you kind of build it like a model, then you test it, and if it works, you kind of scale up. If it doesn't, you make adjustments and stuff like that.
So it took about 7 years to get the recipe just right.
I would say it took about we made our first draft of it back on our homebrew kit commercially. At that point we've only been in business for about a year, so at that point it's pretty spot on. But it took between like 2000 and 14 or so to 18 or 19 to.
Yeah, it just shows you the perfectionist in us. So we didn't want to stop until we got it right.
Yeah.
So now you also said that you all do your own distribution. And so what does that look like? I know that there's a side that involves being on tap in restaurants. Mm-hmm. And I know that there's a side that involves actual like consumer packaged goods. So where do you all fall? Or are you doing
That's on and off premise. So for us, like we have the luxury of controlling the supply chain end to end internally. Where you may have some other people who manufacture a product and they hand it off to someone else to handle the sale and the logistical aspect of getting the product to a location. So for us, it's like, sales rep role, kind of door-to-door salesman type thing, delivery truck driver type role. Our license in DC, we are based in DC as a company. We can do bars, restaurants, liquor stores, markets, delivery and pickup with the consumer.
Nice.
We got
Okay.
a pretty flexible license.
And so how do you source your product? Like how did you go like to site visits? I know when I was in college, I interned for McCormick Spices, and there's actually a man, it's his job to travel all over the world and like sample the best spices. So is that kind of like how you all source your product, or how does that work?
Well, you could help me out on this one, man. Not really, but I feel like as a brewer, that's something that you should aspire to do when you get a large production scale and like different styles. We chose raw ingredients we were familiar with already, so we didn't need to really do that. Like Jahi said, we drink a lot of beer. So when you drink enough beer, you kind of know what you need, and then this is a matter of just researching it and buying it online or whatever, or putting an order in with the supplier.
Nice. Okay. So I guess what would be the next kind of like phase? Like, do you all think that you'll do a brick and mortar? Are you going to move into owning your own facility? What is the next evolution of Soulmega?
Yeah, I definitely think we want to move into a tap room microbrewery situation eventually.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, thank you all so much for joining us. They are on tap in several restaurants, many of which are Black owned here in DC. You
have time for shameless plugs?
Here you go. This is it.
Yes, we are available in 2 Black owned establishments in DC, Half Smoke on Florida and Georgia, and Mr. Braxton in Petworth. We're also available in Capital Fine Wine and Spirits Liquor Store on H Street, Cordial at the Wharf, Warman Wines in Brookland, and Oasis Market in Noma.
Excellent. All right. So, yes. So please.
.com. And we have a link of all of our accounts there.
Awesome. Well, you guys, this is wonderful. I look forward to seeing many great things from Soulmega. And thanks again.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for having us.